I had 5 brothers and 6 sisters. None of them was sold like common Negroes. They were all given away as wedding presents. Those words were spoken by a woman named Amanda Gardner Johnson, recorded in 1918 by journalist Fred Lockley for the Oregon Journal. She was 85 years old when she said them, and she remembered everything. In 1927, Amanda Gardner Johnson died in Albany, Oregon. She was 93 years old. The papers called her a famed pioneer. She was laid to rest in Albany's Masonic Cemetery beside her husband Benjamin, in the same Willamette Valley she had entered 74 years earlier as a slave. This is how she got there. Amanda was born in Missouri in 1833. At 7 years old, she was given away, a wedding gift, presented to Lydia Coram upon her marriage to Anderson Deckard. Amanda entered their household and raised their children as if they were her own. From the beginning, she understood exactly what ownership meant. She had seen slave auctions. People examined, questioned, and sold. I have often attended auctions of slaves when I was a girl back in Missouri. At 14, she was baptized by a Baptist minister named Reverend Robert James. She would carry that faith for the rest of her life. But fear, she said, never fully left her. I was baptized when I was 14 years old by Mr. James, a Baptist minister. You have often heard of his son, Jesse. Jesse James got into trouble holding up trains and doing all sorts of mischief. Here you'll find hidden stories of the Willamette Valley, its people, its places, and its history. If you find this worthwhile, please subscribe and like this video. Joining the channel helps support future work, and your comments help guide what comes next. In 1853, Anderson and Lydia Deckard prepared to go west on the Oregon Trail. Before leaving Missouri, they did something rare. They offered freedom to every person they enslaved. Everyone but Amanda accepted their offer and stayed behind in Missouri to live as free men and women in the only place they had ever known. To understand why Amanda refused her freedom, you need to understand the world she lived in. That same decade, the Supreme Court was moving toward the Dred Scott decision, which would declare that Black Americans held no rights a white man was bound to respect. Even a free Black woman could be accused, arrested, and returned to labor. Her word meant nothing in court. Freedom was not safety. Mr. Deckard asked me if I wanted to be given my freedom and stay where I had been raised and where all my people lived, but I was afraid to accept my liberty, much as I would have liked to stay there. The word of a Negro, even if a free Negro, was of no value in court. She chose to go west with the family. Around the same time, a local merchant offered to buy her outright for $1,200, nearly $50,000 in today's money. Anderson Deckard turned him down. She was, he said, the same as one of the family. The wagon train left Clay County, Missouri on March 13th, 1853. It carried others who would shape Oregon's Black pioneer history, including a man named Benjamin Johnson and Lewis Southworth. Amanda was 20 years old. It took us 6 months to a day to travel by ox team from Liberty, Missouri to Oregon City. We started from Clay County March 13th, 1853, and got to our destination September 13th. When I think back nearly 70 years to our trip across the plains, I can see herds of shaggy-shouldered buffaloes, slender-legged antelopes, Indians, sagebrush, graves by the roadside, dust and high water, and the campfire of buffalo chips over which I cooked the meals. They arrived in Oregon City in September 1853. Anderson Deckard scouted land, and eventually they settled near Oakville and Tangent in Lynn County. Sometime after arrival, Amanda was formally given her freedom from slavery. But Oregon was not the land of promise she might have imagined. The rules had been forming long before she got there. In 1849, the territory had formally barred black migration. By 1857, the same year the Dred Scott decision came down from Washington, that exclusion was written into Oregon's new state constitution. No voting, no secure property rights, no equal standing in court. She was free, and yet she was hemmed in on every side. In 1858, she began working for wages in Albany, $3.50 a week. When I left Missouri, you could buy eggs for 3 to 5 cents a dozen, bacon at 5 to 6 cents a pound, butter at 12 to 15 cents a pound, and corn for 20 cents a bushel, and you could hire men for 50 to 75 cents a day. So when I was paid $3.50 a week, I decided I had come to a land of promise, a land that was flowing with milk and honey. For the first time, her labor felt like her own, but freedom, she would learn, was real and fragile at the same time. Though I was free, I could not claim the rights others took for granted. Freedom was not full, nor was it safe. In 1868, Benjamin Johnson, the man who had crossed the plains on the same wagon train 15 years earlier, began courting Amanda. By the end of the year, they were engaged. Then typhoid fever swept through the Deckard household. Amanda went back to the same family, the same world she had entered as a 7-year-old child. 5 members of the family died, including Lydia Deckard, the woman Amanda had been given to as a wedding gift more than 30 years before. Years later, when asked why she returned, Amanda didn't hesitate. Yes, I never get over the feeling that my first duty is to family. Whenever any of the Deckards are sick, I always go to nurse them and to take care of them. For, you see, they're my people and the only people I've got. It is the most complicated line in her story. The people who had owned her were also the only family she had ever known. Lydia Deckard was buried in 1869 in a small cemetery just outside Oakville, the same cemetery established the year Amanda first arrived in Oregon. Oakville Presbyterian Church still stands nearby, the same land where Amanda's life moved for decades between freedom and obligation. On April 12, 1870, Amanda and Benjamin Johnson were married. He worked as a blacksmith in Albany, steady, respected, known for hard work and decency. When heavy snow collapsed his shop roof in 1884, local papers reported it rebuilt within weeks, in better condition than before. They became known figures in the community. A life built from almost nothing, on work, on reputation, on resilience. Anderson Deckard died in 1886, buried in Oakville Cemetery beside Lydia. His obituary remembered him as a man of affable disposition who left behind the legacy of a good name. Benjamin Johnson died in 1901. His obituary traced the life he had built, crossing the plains in 1853, settling in Albany, years working as a blacksmith. It called him a conscientious, upright, industrious man, highly respected by all who knew him. Years later, in 1913, Amanda turned 80, and she registered to vote. A local paper noted that Oregon's adoption of women's suffrage had made it possible. It added that she registered as a Republican. In her final years, Amanda looked back across nearly a century. "Oh, I don't suppose there are many other colored people in Oregon who have been slaves, but I've been free since I was 20, and that's nearly 70 years ago." She died in 1927 in the care of the Deckard family's descendants in Albany, on land now known as Henderson Park. 93 years old. Today, two cemeteries sit 10 miles apart in the Willamette Valley. In Oakville, the Deckard family lies in a small pioneer cemetery off the main road. In Albany, Amanda and Benjamin rest side by side in the Masonic Cemetery. Most people drive through this valley without stopping. They don't notice what the ground beneath it remembers. Amanda Gardner Johnson is still here, in a land she crossed a continent to reach. In the words she spoke at 85, recorded by a journalist who understood he was listening to something rare. Words that have outlasted everyone who was alive to hear them. She was not free when she arrived. She was not fully protected when she was freed. But she built a life anyway, on her own terms, inside a world that never made it easy. Because for Amanda, freedom and safety were never the same thing, and she knew the difference better than anyone.